It is 2:32. We are going to begin. The email for attendance has gone out. If you are not a voting member, you can sign in. We're good. All right, well, happy May, and thank you everyone for joining us. I know it's a very not difficult, but very busy time of year. We have approximately a week left in our spring 2022 semester, our second semester seated in a row, which is fantastic, and there's been lots of hiccups, lots of bumps, lots of changes between semesters with, vaccines and masking and all of those things. So just thanks everyone, you did an amazing job. And with that, I also want to point out that it was Teacher Appreciation Week last week for all educators. So I want to make sure that all of our educators out there, in whatever capacity you're doing education at the college, thank you very much for all of your hard work. We see you, we hear you, we know that you've been putting your heart and soul into the semester, and we appreciate you. So thank you very much to our teachers. I would like to introduce, we have a new VP of Human Resources, and she's joined us today. We have Dr. Cynthia Buckley. I'll give her a minute to say something to the group.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Cynthia. It's nice to be here. I'm glad to be a part of the SUNY Erie family. I have come from Oklahoma, where I've served at my previous university, Langston University, for 25 years. And so it's a great honor to be here. I'm a native of North Carolina, so it's good to be back on the East Coast. So I'm glad to be here serving as your Vice President of Human Resources, Equity, and Inclusion. I have a great team. It's been, last week was my first full week, and it was a joy and a pleasure being here with everyone. So thank you for having me on today, and I look forward to being a part of the team.
Great, thank you, and welcome. A few other things of note. And I know a lot of people have questions about the Brightspace transition, which is going to be our new LMS, our learning management system. We're switching from Blackboard to Brightspace. The pilot has begun, and several of the faculty in this room are part of that pilot. Thank you very much. The pilot has been a few faculty members that are going through current training, and we are going to be using our Summer 1 and our Summer 2 classes with the Brightspace platform. So one of the things that people have had questions is, when does the rest of the faculty begin their training? So you're going to be able to begin training soon, but there's one caveat to that. There are these things called global IDs that are coming from SUNY, and those global IDs have to be matched with all of us, and then they're going to be put together with ITS into Workday. So once that's done and ready to rock and roll, you'll get an email from Pat Ryan, and you will be able to begin your Brightspace training. There are 4 required modules that go over best practices for distance learning education, and those are required for faculty that have already been teaching online. There are 10 total of these modules for those that have not taught online in the past. So please hang on to your horses. I know everybody's very excited to start the Brightspace migration, but you're just going to have to hold on tight for just a little bit longer while we get all our ducks in a row with our global IDs. Speaking of best practices, June 8th is going to be the Summer Institute through our CPD, our Center for Professional Development. It's going to be online, June 8th. It's a Wednesday, and there's going to be all sorts of great stuff part of that day. We're going to be talking about, best practices, micro-credentials, and all the other things that we've been doing throughout the college and what we're going to be doing moving forward towards the next semester. And it's going to be a very exciting day. So I hope you are there. I hope to see you there. And please watch for CPD emails that give more information. It is also AAPI, our Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I did not read any cool books to share with you, because it's been a little crazy with scheduling and things like that as we prepare for the fall. But if I think of any by the time Friday comes around and I send my email out, I will make sure I share one for you. Okay, so with that, we're going to start our meeting. So normally we would have a president's report at this point, but Dr. Balkin and Dr. Sagai are both unable to be here, so frankly, I thought maybe we would just skip it. So I took it off the agenda. I hope you don't mind. I'm sure they don't mind either. So with that, we're going to move to the approval of the minutes from the April 2022 College Senate meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Tom, second. Mary Angela, sorry. I got stuck. Any questions, comments? Okay, the motion passes by consent. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move right into old business. And with that, I'm going to call on Michael Rio from the Governance Committee.
Thank you. We have results from the at-large election. I don't know if we have a slide there. All right. So I'd like to congratulate those new members of the Senate. Maybe a round of applause, and their term starts on June 1st.
I know that those at home probably cannot see the screen behind me, so I'm just going to read those off really quick. It's Robert Jamoni, Ashley Hainowski, Michael Higgins, Stephanie Sharmack, and Amy Yoder. So again, thank you very much for putting your name in for the election, and we thank you for your future service.
So we have one election that we need to conduct today from the floor of the Senate, and one election that we will be postponing until June. The voting liaison election will be postponed until June. The officer election for secretary will take place today. We are calling for nominations for that position. There are details on that position on the governance meeting minutes that are posted to the website, but I could answer questions, or perhaps Kim could share some of that work expectation with everyone if there's interest in that. It would require a nomination, and acceptance of that nomination. Self-nominations are encouraged as well.
So what Michael's trying to say is that if anyone is interested in being the College Senate Secretary, please nominate yourself now.
It looks great on a CV in case you're out there looking for work.
Well, don't go beating down my door.
Should we talk about some of the fun and exciting things that the secretary does month to month? You come to the Senate meetings anyway, so you're here. It's a good time. It's a good fit. You're working closely with the executive committee. You're working closely with faculty and administration on the business of the Senate. You are taking notes for minutes and assembling, attaching, placing documents on the website. And when the technology works, it's a really easy job. And prestigious.
You get to text with me like weekly. I don't know if that's helpful. It's also 3 contact hours of money, because that's really where. We'll let you mull it over, and we'll maybe come back to that. Oh, Jason Steinitz?
No, I just have a question.
You're not getting off that easy.
Jump the gun here. I'm assuming then that Kim is not interested in continuing? Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. You did a great job, by the way. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kim. All right, so we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, I mean, a few things would happen. I mean, we can have the election at the end of the meeting after people kind of think about it. And if not, the position will remain vacant until we have an election to fill the position. So we can start with that conversation again in June. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. Now, general education, Bill Falls. It's not here. Sure, I'm going to call on Erickson to fill in.
Great, thank you. The General Education Committee, as I have now transitioned into a new position at the institution, wanted to ensure that the General Education Committee is properly running through the process now under the purview of the College Senate. And so Dr. Falls is willing to move into the chair position that I had previously held, and I'm very confident in his capabilities to run this very important committee for the institution. And his position, his prior position, is now open, and the General Education Committee, by agreement, proposed and recommended that Andy Heisey, currently with the English department, would serve as the co-chair in this General Education Committee.
Okay, thank you, Erickson. So can I have a motion to approve the committee membership changes for the General Education Committee? Derek first and Erickson second. Thank you. And thank you, Sabrina. Questions or comments about this motion? All right, the vote is out. Feel free to check your email. Okay, and the motion passes overwhelmingly, 32 to approve. There's no noes and 1 abstention. We're going to practice sending the results to the members. This is new. So you might get like a big blue cloud of nothing, just so you know. or teal, or whatever the Microsoft Forms color is, that weird teal. All right, so congratulations to Bill Falls, stepping in Erickson's shoes, thank you very much, and to Andy Heisey, who's going to be the new co-chair of General Education. Okay, so we have a Middle States update, and I'm going to call on Kathy Calesto.
So Middle States, as you all know, was here on April 1. And since that time, we have been working diligently with the Academic Assessment Committee, the assessment mentors, at devising our, putting together our team that's going to be writing the self-study report that is due on the 1st of September. And to do that, we also have identified the need to amend or change the current academic assessment policy. And that's what I'm bringing forward to you today, is that motion to approve a task force on academic assessment policy creation. Also, if you're an FFECC member, you should have received, I think on Thursday, a posting for Accreditation Chair from Sarah Riggy. And I'd encourage anyone who is interested in working on this important project. Accreditation Chair is the new title. It used to be our Middle States Chair. Andy Sacco and Dr. Sagai worked together to create a new job description for that position that expands its role in serving all of our accredited programs on campus. So this is, thank you, Colleen, for bringing that up. This is the task force resolution. So currently, do you want me to read it or?
Sure.
Okay, so whereas SUNY Erie Community College seeks to establish and, you lost me.
Oh, sorry, I'm
To establish and grow a culture of assessment and planning, whereas the college community is required by Middle States on higher education to demonstrate that education effectiveness assessment itself is effective and utilized for improvement of educational effectiveness, and whereas by SUNY Erie Community College's own ethics and integrity and its commitment to the broader community requires that the college itself demonstrate that education effectiveness assessment is effective and utilized for the improvement of educational effectiveness. And whereas the existing Board of Trustees policy on planning assessment was not written or established within the shared governance commitment of the college, and whereas institutions with a culture of assessment tend to focus on student learning rather than on accreditation, be it therefore resolved that the College Senate appoint a task force to review and recommend changes to the Board of Trustees Planning and Assessment policy. And be it further resolved that the charge of this task force will be to research and propose edits to the policy regarding the closing of the loop practices and procedures that are best practices within the higher education landscape. And be it further resolved that the membership of this task force consists of the 4 faculty members appointed divisional assessment mentors, chair of the Academic Assessment Committee, representation from the General Education Committee, 1 librarian, 1 academic dean, the provost, the AVP of IRAP, 1 appointee by the college president, and 1 appointee by the FFECC president. And be it further resolved that the task force will present a preliminary report by the May 10th, 22 Senate meeting, and in policy proposal for vote by the Senate by June 14th, 2022 Senate meeting. We have already missed the May 10th deadline.
That's okay. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution? Sabrina, can I have a second? Jason, any questions, comments? Amy?
I have a question. And once again, I feel like counselors are left out of most committees, yet we have a large amount of interaction with students from across multiple areas in this institution. So I'm just wondering why there is not counselor representation on that committee.
We were focusing mostly on the academic assessment in this, but I do agree that we need to broaden the scope. That was a discussion that we had, is broadening the scope to include administrative assessment as well. So I don't see any issue with adding counselors.
Amy, would you like to make a motion to amend this resolution?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to amend.
Anyone want to second it? Tom? All right, Amy, what is your amend?
I would like to amend that counselors be added to the membership task force.
So after one librarian, comma, one counselor.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments about this amendment? Marlene? You got to talk in the mic. Pull the mic down.
Was mentioned that administrators are missing, and I'm assuming there will be administrative assessment. So shouldn't administrators also be added?
So we have an academic dean, the provost, and AVP of IRAP. The appointee by college president and appointee, I guess the appointee by the college president could fill that role.
Any questions on the amendment of adding a counselor to this resolution? That motion passes by consent. All right, I'm going to add it. Okay, any questions or comments as this resolution is now currently written with the amendment of the additional counselor? Kathy?
So my question is about the dates that we put in this. So obviously, the timeline is very tight for us to be able to be effective in moving forward for the September 1st deadline that Middle States gave the college. So I'm just curious if there is a way to send the policy proposal prior to that 14th meeting. I know you need 30 days. So is there, what would you advise
For a policy?
for that last line?
You don't, that doesn't have to be sent 30 days
Okay.
in advance. It has to come to Senate Executive, and then we, hash it out, talk about it, run it by FFECC, make sure it's good to go, and then as long as we have it posted on the Senate docs ahead of time where people can read it, it's the bylaws.
So the 10th that date does not need to be in there? Possibly?
Yeah, it's
fine.
negligible, it's fine.
Okay.
Patty Kaiser?
I'm wondering, I know you want high-level input, decision makers at the table, but I'm wondering whether you wanted to add the provost and the AVP of IRAP or their designee so that you have better chance of actually having a working committee, since those people seem to be in the weeds with their existing responsibilities, or what the rationale of having them on this committee is.
We can put the designee for the provost. The AVP of IRAP's responsibility is accreditation, so I think they need to be present.
Patty, would you like to make a motion to amend this resolution to add the word "or designee" after provost?
So be it.
Would anyone like to second that motion? Derek? Any questions or comments about this motion of adding the words "or designee" to the resolution? It passes by consent. All right, it's now amended. Scroll back up. Sure. To see the resolves? All right. Okay, while everyone's just reviewing that really quick too, I got a question from senators that were not able to be here about the Board of Trustees, and I was just wondering, Kathy, if you could clarify that there was some sort of deadline extended to 2023 at the board meeting?
The strategic plan?
I don't know.
The strategic plan so SUNY Erie Excels was set to expire August of '21, It was originally extended through resolution by my predecessor to August of '22. I took this position in January, and Dr. Balkin joined us shortly after in February. So we asked for an extension until August of '23. We were also asked by Denise Wilson, Chairwoman Denise Wilson, to amend the existing SUNY Erie Excels with Dr. Balkin's high-level goals for this current year, which we are currently working on.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Any other questions or concerns, comments about this resolution? All right. We're sending it out electronically. Two of you are sleeping. You haven't voted yet, vote.
I got 2 emails regarding it. Am I a sleeping person? Because I answered one and now I have another voting email.
No, you're good. Okay. The motion passes. 31-4, 2 abstentions. So the assessment task force for policy is approved. Okay. We got some more voting. Get ready. It's a heavy voting meeting today. All right, we're moving into new business. And there are 2 policies that were started by the Academic Standards Committee in August of 21, and then we talked about them a little bit in November 21, and then they kind of went away, and then Joanne Komarauer retired, and academic standards is no more, so these policies needed to be worked on. So myself, Erica, Hendra, and Amy Yoder got together and worked on them, ran them through FFECC, and ran them through College Senate Exec, just so you guys have a little bit of a history of it. And we're going to do them one at a time. I'm going to pull up the grade change policy first. There are drafts with red line versions available on the Senate site. They're already there. I'm going to pull up the clean version, and I'll hand it over to Amy.
Thank you, Colleen. I just want to give a plug to the committee that worked on this previously, as well as Jim Burrell and Joanne Warren, who did a lot of really good foundational work on this. Really, this is coming from the comments and this collective body's discussion on these policies previously. I think it was a couple months ago. So Colleen has the clean version up. As she mentioned, we do have the red line version along with other color coding. Let's put it that way. This has been looked at by several people. Essentially on the grade change policy, the biggest difference that you'll see from the previous time that this was presented to this body is that extenuating circumstances beyond 2 years but prior to graduation may be granted upon review and approval of the provost. And this is specifically referring to grade changes. We acknowledge that there is some very outlier situations that may come up. Colleen had a really good example, but because they are few and far between, they would need to be at the provost level. So that is included in there. Another change that we had here, that the grade changes must be approved by the department chair head and the academic dean. We did take that part out, that this is basically a contract between the faculty member and the student, and that the grade change form must be submitted to the registrar's office by the faculty member. So no approvals are needed. Again, only those outliers that are beyond that 2-year period would need the approval of the provost. So that is included in there. There was also a change in that last paragraph that the registrar's office, we took out and approving dean, and that will maintain the documentation for each grade, just as it always is. So we wanted to clarify that as well. And that a record of the documentation or coursework, as always, is stored by the faculty or department head chair in circumstances that the department head chair would take over that. So those were the big changes that we had made based on conversation from this body as well as bringing it to Senate exec.
Can I have a motion to approve? Tom. Second, Jackie. So the motion is on the floor, and this is where you get to ask all your questions or say your concerns. Sabrina.
Okay, I know you're going to kill me because I was supposed to say this at the executive, but I just noticed it now, that it says that it's supposed to be monitored by the Academic Standards Committee, but if the Academic Standards Committee no longer exists, I don't know how it can do that.
We did talk about, it's technically still on the books. So even though it's not currently functioning, like several of our committees that are on the books. So I believe one of the summer jobs that the Senate is going to work on this summer is restructuring that committee and making it fall underneath the Senate. And so at that time, we should be good to go. But that's a good point. Thank you. Kathy?
Is there I guess I understand Sabrina's concern on that. Should it maybe be AVP of Academic Affairs or the provost, something in lines with, just so that there's some guidance on that and someone doing the checks and balances?
Well, this is going to go, at this point, once we approve this today, this will go to the Board Policy Committee, where at that point, it'll be discussed further, and then it'll go to the board itself. So I think that we can talk about it at the Board Policy Committee meeting at that time, but I also think that we'll have all of this ironed out by September, so that it might be an unnecessary change.
I would also add that there's several other policies that have that same statement in them, basically saying that the Academic Standards Committee monitors this on an annual basis. So we may, when we do those discussions, collectively talk about what we're going to do about all policies that have this statement in there.
Great, thanks. That's a good point. Thank you, Amy. Other questions? Comments? Going once. Going twice. Okay, Erica's going to send out the vote. Now there's 33 of you. Don't be sleeping. And it passes by 100% for yes. So again, thank you for all the past members of Academic Standards that helped get this moving, and Amy for taking this on and working with us under the umbrella of shared governance to make sure this got done the right way. Let me pull up the next one. Give me a second. Okay, the next one is grades and academic standing policy. And again, this is the non-red line version for just being able to see it. The red line version, along with other color coding, is available on the Senate site under drafts. Do you want to take it?
Thanks, Colleen. Again, from this body, 2 changes were made to the draft that was presented several months ago. On page 2, and I'm going to quote my friend Dave Uzinski here, we made math a little bit easier. And what we did was present that instructors may give an incomplete grade to a student who has completed at least 2/3 of the required academic work for a course. That is a change, and this would also be a catalog change as well. It's a little cleaner, easier to do the math on the course, and allows the instructor to make a better decision-making process. The second change to this is on page 4. Students will be assigned a midterm grade was removed. So midterm grade was removed. Students will be assigned a final grade. Based on the discussions of this body as well as at the Senate Executive Committee, we discussed that we need to have a better process in place for midterm grades and to move that forward. So I'm not going to lie, I may come back to you for that one, but not here, not now.
Right, and for the background for that, the work that was done with this was great, but it seemed that they're trying to solve a lot of problems in one, where the assignment of a midterm grade is its own separate issue, which should be its own separate policy. So that is why we kept it at finals, because that's the required assignment of a midterm grade is a totally separate conversation. Can I have a motion to accept? Jason, second. Amy? All right, questions, comments, concerns? Do you need me to scroll anywhere else? So for those non-math people, the 2/3, it's because it's 15 weeks, get it? So 15 divided by 3 is 5. Then you get 10. And I ran out of hands, 15. Give me your hand. Put your hand. What? 15. All right, we're going to send out the vote. And the motion passes. 1 abstention and the rest were yeses. So thank you very much. And this has also passed. So as same as the other policy, now that this is finished, I know I got a couple emails with some grammar things. It's Erica's fault. No. We'll clean that up because Trustee Mazziello is also a fan of grammar. So we'll clean that up before I forward that over to the Board of Trustees, and we'll keep you posted if it goes further or if it needs to come back at the June meeting. Enrollment. All right, Dr. Erickson Nealons, ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go. Thank you, Colleen, and thank you to the College Senate for allowing there to be space always for talking about enrollment. As many of you have seen over the last few weeks, it's really my philosophy that the data related to enrollment will be continuous and continuously provided to the entire academic institution. So as many of you have seen, there's a weekly enrollment management email that comes out, which I think is really helpful for us to gauge where we are at each of the different academic terms, as well as identifying different trends related to maybe enrollment rates for the week and where we're heading towards. So those are going to continue. Those will continue for the foreseeable future. And again, really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share that with the entire community here. So I want to start off with summer, since that's the one that then is coming up very quickly here, starting on then May 23rd. As you may have remembered from the last Senate meeting, I highlighted that at that point in time, we were down around 30% compared to the year prior at that point in time. The promising news is that since then, we have gained about 1% each day since that last meeting. So as of right now, we are down 15.32%. So although we are still down, trending in the right direction. And so I really want to applaud each of you who have taken the additional effort to highlight the opportunity to get ahead, to catch up in each of your classes, to help students register for the summer. It does not go unnoticed. As many of you know, data is my passion of mine, so I love being able to look at the back end of this and see the fruits of everyone's efforts. So I really encourage you over these next 2 weeks, please continue to push for that summer enrollment. I know we can do it. We have marketing now that is going, digital marketing campaign to really push then for summer enrollment. So anything, again, that you can do while we have students here really pay dividends to help boost that enrollment. Currently, the overwhelming number of students are registered for Summer 1 with current headcount. This is as of yesterday at 1,089. Our Summer 2, naturally, because it is later in the summer, is about 252. So I think as we'll see those numbers for Summer 2 increase, we'll see the overall numbers improve going forward. So I am happy to take any questions about summer before I transition over to fall.
Patty.
I've been getting questions that I can't answer. Do you have a summer session 1 magic number for run cancel that is coming up? Recognizing that summer courses are essentially a profit line, and Dave has the numbers on those better than I do, but I understand that our fixed costs are fixed in summer school. Channeling Cooper Lansing here, we all know that 5 is the number. So do you have any thoughts on how those decisions might be made?
When you say magic number, are you referring to an individual course? Or are you referring to overall enrollment headcount?
When you do run cancel, you run cancel individual courses, not overall enrollment.
Great. So right now, I would say I am focusing solely on the overall institutional enrollment health. It's a great question, and I appreciate the question. I don't feel comfortable being able to address that specific question about the run cancel for the specific course at this particular moment. I'd rather be able to highlight then where we are currently with the enrollment trends and what we're seeing.
I recognize the importance of the global numbers, but I'm very concerned that knee-jerk decisions might be made by people who do not understand profit and loss as well as Professor Lansing did, God rest his soul. Summer school doesn't cost us any more to run, and 5 students definitely puts us in a profit line. So whoever you can share that point of view with, I would appreciate it, because I think that's critical. You really don't want us coming back in June saying, these decisions were made and you cost us these thousands of dollars because those students got cut and they perhaps shouldn't have been. There's also the much more difficult to count phenomena that if a student is taking more than one summer school class and any of their classes gets canceled, they tend to go away where they can take all of their courses. They don't want to take one course here and one at End Trip. And Fabio's up at End Trip now, so he probably has a different point of view. But he and I used to argue quite heatedly that that didn't happen, and we all know it did happen, because it's what we as individuals would do. If I can't get all of my product here, I'm going to take it where I can get it all together. So when these numbers are being looked at, we need the money. So let's make wise decisions.
Derek?
To piggyback on that, I've had a call from a nervous adjunct who's thinking about bailing on a course that she's committed to teach because she's afraid of the number. And I've had a call from a nervous student who's debating whether they should bail on the course because they're afraid it's not going to run.
Bill?
Going even further, that we just lost a student in my department because of that. It happened to them this semester. Night course couldn't get replaced. She just gave up and said, forget it. And by the way, the course was at 6.
Amy?
Unrelated, but possibly related. We previously, for summer session 2, would advertise and promote discounted courses to high school juniors. Is that an initiative we're looking at continuing? Because I think that could help fill some of those seats.
Yeah, so great point. With regards to the first comments, certainly I would encourage those questions and concerns within the academic communication chain to the provost. I highly encourage that question related then to concerns around the course or what course offerings there are. Absolutely encourage that and welcome that opportunity. With regards to the tuition, with regards to we are looking at options of what it is that would be available per SUNY policy, per others, about what we can do at this point in time. So those are being explored actively.
There are specific rules about discounting tuition for on-campus classes, Amy, that we have to look into before we could do something like that.
Thank you, Phil.
I'm going to add a little more, sorry.
Oh, Pat Ryan.
Those discounted classes for high school students were not seats in our classes. They were separate sections built for the high schools. So, yeah, I ran the program, so yes.
Really quick before we move on to the fall, I'm going to appoint Erica Hendra as the chair of the College Senate for a second. I'm going to go over here. Do I recognize you? So hi, I'm Colleen Quinn from the math department at South Campus. And my summer classes, I have 2 for summer 1. I have 12 students in each class. And when you look at their degree program, 50% of each of my courses are non-degree program, which means they're non-matriculated, which means they are from the 4-year schools, which means if we cancel the classes, we are going to burn those bridges. Okay, I appoint myself back as chair. Jason.
I'd just like to point out that the other issue for those students who come from other colleges and universities to pick up some courses at ECC over the summer, these students typically have very specific requirements in mind. I need a macroeconomics course. And so if that gets canceled on them, they don't just turn around and say, oh, well, okay, I'll pick up a math course instead. If they can't get the macro, they'll go somewhere else because that's the requirement they want to fill this summer. So on the one hand, they are less flexible, and if you think about it that way, than our regular ECC students. On the other hand, they are more flexible because, as a couple of you have pointed out, they can't get what they want here, they'll pack up and go somewhere else. It's no real skin off their nose to do that. So I think when we start talking about that revenue positive aspect of summer, summer is an add-on. That means the costs for the academic year, those fixed costs, are already accounted for. So when you add a summer course, you're basically adding an adjunct pay. And so any revenue that you can bring in over that is gravy. And we should be grabbing as much of that as we possibly can. We've got revenue needs, then let's go after that revenue and not just throw it away with so-called cost saving by canceling a course. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on summer? All right, Erickson, back to fall.
Yes, and actually I really enjoy the comments about how do we actively reach out to students, identify the value add of attending here, the opportunity to further their education with this. And that's going to be a great transition into fall. I'm going to highlight a few numbers here. You've seen my enrollment rates in the enrollment management reports that'll come out weekly. So we are seeing a bit of a downward trend in terms of the rates of enrollment over the past few weeks. Promising, though, is that I am looking at the enrollment rates of this week so far, and it does seem to be improving, which is great. So as of today, from yesterday, we have enrolled 85 students, which is higher than the rate that we had before. So again, awesome, and I think that's, again, attributed to the efforts that faculty and staff of having to reach out to students and identifying the opportunity to enroll before they leave. So as you're mentioning then about this opportunity to really connect with students and see that opportunity to build a schedule before they leave for the spring, that's where in the last enrollment management email, the highlight was to have a goal of registering 50% of the advisees on that list. That is taking into consideration things like our retention rate, looking at then the overall case load that you see within Workday and the advisee list, and really giving the institution an opportunity to really look at the landscape of the enrollment at the end of the semester. The first milestone that we have is June 3rd by being able to look at a point-in-time comparison to where we were last year. In looking at the calendar, that last day of entering final grades was that May 24th. So 2 weeks from now is really the idea of then pushing towards that enrollment goal. As I say about then reaching out, and I agree with you, Jason, wholeheartedly, right? What can we do to make that connection with students now? Right? That's why I think this is, and again, I love this opportunity to present to this body because I know how effective we, as an institution, moving all in the same direction can be. Right? So I ask each of us, what is it that we can do over these next 2 weeks to reach out to our students and get them registered?
Okay. Pam?
An excuse that I get from many students is they don't know if they passed their classes, so they don't want to make a schedule now because they're waiting for their final exam to see if they passed. So why do it twice is sort of what they're thinking, or they might have to repeat. So they're waiting till they get their final grades.
Absolutely, and I completely understand, where we are with the final grades, and that's where we want to be accommodating to that 50% mark. So if we are looking at, I think, a realistic goal, that seems something that I think that we can accommodate and adjust to. And I should say that was a rhetorical question of what can we do, right, over these 2 weeks to really move that needle and reaching out to students, make these connections now, right, before they then leave for the summer. The one thing I want to highlight is this too, in terms of our higher education history trends. So this is identifying the different types of students that we have currently registered at this point in time and really want to appeal to the faculty and staff of what we can do. Overwhelmingly, the number of students that we have currently registered is our continuing students. We, as of yesterday, had registered a little over 1,600 students. Almost 1,400 of them are continuing students, so the vast majority of that. Okay? 135 of those students are new. And as you've seen over the last few weeks, I have sent out a list of students that have been admitted but not yet registered for the fall. And that comes out to around 2,200 students. So as you're now talking about how it is that we can make an impact early on, right, we've registered about 5% of that list of new students. What can we do collectively here to work and try to get those new students registered as early as we can, right? Reach out to them, make these connections, congratulate them on being here, right? How is it that then SUNY Erie is going to be able to serve you? These are things that I really encourage. And in general studies alone, there's 700 of them. Right? We know that that's a vast population that we serve here at the institution. And so I would encourage, if there's a way of taking things like the pop-up registration events, that was great to see these faculty-driven initiatives, right? And you saw the impact that they had. I love the fact that the deans of students were able to help collaborate together to make these things work. What can we all do to work together towards these enrollment goals? And so I look forward to seeing what may come from the Senate here, faculty-driven initiatives. I fully believe that those are going to be really great ways to move the needle as we work towards these enrollment goals.
So with enrollment, I just want to give a shout out to the South Campus. We had 2 open enrollment events that was faculty initiated, and we had support from our Dean of Students office, and Amy Oder bought us food for the students, and over the 2 days, 4 hours each day, so over 8 hours, we registered approximately 75 students for the fall, and several summer classes as well. So, you know, to be quite honest, it was an idea that happened in the hallway. We were in the hallway. I think Marianne Partee walked by and a couple other people walked by and we're like, you know, let's do this. We're in computer labs, let's do this. So it's, you know, organic things like that that can make a difference. And I just want to make sure, we had a great team, a bunch of people that just were like, I heard you're doing this, I'm coming down, and it was just really great. So to be perfectly candid with everyone, it's all of us that makes the difference in us working together. Oh, actually, Sabrina and then Pam.
Concerning the admitted not yet registered, I have a question or maybe a request for you, Eric. So I've been seeing these as department chair. So when I see the English majors, I'm like, ooh, English majors. But there are also all of these general studies students, and I'm a general studies advisor. And to be quite honest, I have no idea when new general studies advisees get added to my list. Is there any way we can generate a report that goes to advisors that tells them that they've been assigned new students?
Sorry, you got to go to the mic. So while she's going over there, I also want to say the counselor's office also helped us out, and they were cycling in and out. And Dave did something at City Campus as well, right? He was a helper, right? Katrina did it. So it was Dave. Look, she said it's you. So it's happening everywhere, and just thank you, everybody. Okay, go ahead.
New students are assigned in general studies after the semester, so you would have new students from the last semester would be assigned. So in Workday, you'll see it.
So I'm not getting new general studies students as they're registered by the college, in other words, the way I get new English majors?
No.
So to clarify, those students will get assigned general studies advisors after they complete the fall semester.
Or during the semester, yes, to make sure it's even for all faculty members. That's why it's the best way to do it. We can relook at that if that needs to be done. However, the majority of the students, the new students, are the responsibility of myself, my ISS, and the faculty. That was determined by my dean.
So,
Actually, Pam and then Patty.
okay.
The event that was, we also had a pop-up event at City, but I didn't know anything about it. I'm in the post office and I'm getting calls from people there during my classes saying, this student needs help, and I had no idea. So if we could communicate that to every department, so I could have tried to get someone over there to assist, but I was clueless and people are telling me something was going on.
Great.
So.
Patty and then Phil.
I guess I'm just confused. We have 700 general studies students floating in the system, but they're not being advised, or they're being advised by 3 people? So how are we tracking them and how are we helping them?
Okay. Phil?
I could at least address that question, and then the advisor side to it, Lori can speak to. So what I'm able to see is students that have been admitted, but not yet enrolled or not yet registered. As to whether or not have been placed into that academic advisee piece, that's where Lori can then speak a bit better to the process for that.
So we're actively recruiting and advising students that are new. They fill out a survey, we contact them by email or by phone, and we make appointments. We've been advising students since day one, since registration opened. In fact, we, among our small staff, we advised over 100 students while you guys were on break. So we are working diligently. We're sending emails, we'll be sending some postcards. We're working the best we can with the limited staff that we have.
Thank you, Lori. I think their point might also be that if we have a limited staff of 3, one being a part-time person, why is it your responsibility to register 700 students? Phil, and then Katrina.
Just a quick reminder too, I have sent information to the deans and the AVP about the summer advisement events. I asked them to communicate to the faculty to RSVP for the chair day that we'll be holding on July 20th from 10 to 2 and August 10th from 10 to 2. Then it will be by appointment August 11th for general studies only, as well as the open registration on the 29th and August 30th. If we could just have all the, kind of know who we're going to have at those events before you guys leave on break, it'll really make the planning and execution a lot smoother for us. Our plan is to really push students to these dates. It worked well last year. We had marketing support, a lot of email communications, and we had good traffic on the campuses. So it'll just be easier for setup if we know what faculty are going to be there those days. So please contact your dean or AVP. They do have the RSVP forms, and get your name on there. We'd be appreciative in enrollment. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And just to follow up, that's all 3 campuses?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Katrina?
Yes, I just wanted to address Pam's question or concern. So unfortunately, all 3 campuses were asked to rapidly just kind of get some drop-in registration dates that happen within 3 or 4 business days. So the deans of students did communicate with each of the department chairs and heads on their campuses. And unfortunately, at the same time, we kind of were stymied by not being able to communicate with the student all email blast that we used to do. We were asked to stop utilizing that as a main tool to communicate with students and faculty and staff. So we hung flyers, we communicated with department chairs and heads, we posted things around the campuses. We did all kinds of things to kind of share the word. But unfortunately, we were a little stymied with not being able to communicate via email to students and staff, faculty and staff. Okay?
So to clarify, events to register students for the fall could not be sent out on a student all email? Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Chase,
if you wanted to address that.
Sure, Erickson.
Yeah, the idea here is that we want to be able to make sure that all communication is going out in a strategic, concerted effort. So in order to be able to, as Katrina highlighted, given the rapid turnaround time with it, going forward, if there are events that are then scheduled to take place in advance, which we're actively working on to create that type of calendar and schedule, that's where then we're going to be able to create the ability to send out that information in a more concerted effort, so that we're not spamming or continuing then to overload how many messages are going out to staff all or student all. And that's something we just actually mentioned with regards to even strategic planning about the way that communications are happening moving forward.
Thank you. Jason?
I just wanted to give a quick plug for North. Tomorrow from 11 to 1, we have a pop-up registration event in the Student Center Lounge. We're also doing a incentive raffle. So every student who registers at North between now and the 17th can come to the Dean of Students office to get a raffle ticket to win one of 2 laptops. We publicized that this morning, and we've already had a handful of students register and come in. So hopefully that's going to help drive up the numbers a little bit as well.
Great. Thank you very much. Pam?
Who do we contact if we're going to do a pop-up event for our department? Is there a way to advertise that to our students?
The academic requests, please move those forward to then the academic dean, as well as then the academic dean will bring that then to the provost for discussion.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Bill?
Is there any concerted effort to use other forms of media that's not just email? Because I check constantly, but we need to move towards students' way of looking at things, especially if you're using things in a speedy manner, like happening in 2 days and whatnot.
Erickson?
Yes, so the admissions office is actively coordinating with our project manager at Signalvine to build even more effective campaigns related then to our text messaging services. So those are actively going on. And then as we build these, ideally, calendars related then to these events, we'd also be able to align that with specific marketing campaigns and tactics that would also then be effective at communicating this information as well. So right now, as we have the opportunity to plan, we're going to be able to then build more concerted efforts and tactics as we move these initiatives going forward.
What is Signalvine?
Signalvine is our texting platform.
How dare you, Phil?
Thank you. Just for everyone else out there, Patrina is next.
I just wanted to add that the deans of students, we have money for departments that would like to have refreshments for any type of registration or raffle or anything that you would like to attract and engage students to that particular event. Please contact your dean of students and we can best explain how you can utilize those monies, or if you've spent your own money, be reimbursed.
Thank you. And Jason, that is just a North Campus event tomorrow?
Yes, that's just happening at North.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other enrollment news. All right, Erickson, you can take a deep breath. You're off the hook.
No, that was great. Honestly, this type of discussion is fantastic, and I absolutely welcome it. Questions you have, please email that Office of the Enrollment Management email, and happy to discuss further.
Pam?
I did hear a rumor that courses need to be 80% full before they're canceled. Is that going to be enforced at the end of this semester, at the end of summer registration, a week before classes start, once the semester begins? When can we anticipate that possibly being enforced?
That's a great question. I think we would then bring it forward to the fellow colleagues at the SES level with regards to those decisions. I know there is active data coming in from the registrar's office that the provost is reviewing constantly with regards to where we are on the course level activity, but those specific details I don't have any answer for at this point.
Jason, I'm going to ask you one more question. Is the raffle just at North Campus?
The raffle's also just at North Campus.
Okay, thank you. Derek?
I don't know if this 80% number is real. That is, that we won't run a course if it doesn't receive 80%, but that's a ridiculously high number. We get a lot of late enrollments, but if you have the only course that's being offered of that type, it doesn't make sense to use a number that large. It's just an unrealistic number. It would hurt us. We would be throwing money away if we used a number that high.
Kathy?
For the record, Dr. Nealons did not confirm the 80% number, and neither can I.
No, we know that. That was a rumor that Pam had heard elsewhere.
Can I say something else?
Sure.
I would just encourage us to focus on maybe the positive actions that we can take to increase that enrollment so that we don't have to have that conversation, because I agree that discussion will have to be very nuanced to make sure that we are focusing on student completion as our first and foremost goal.
All right. So I do know that a lot of those questions are valid and they are concerning. We do have the realignment study that came out from the RPK group. I know Dr. Balkin did send out part of that last week. More of it will be discussed at the upcoming board meeting. So I encourage you to watch that if you have very specific questions regarding the realignment. And because Dr. Balkin and Dr. Sagai could both not be here today, we did table that topic that was going to be on new business, but we didn't want to put Kathy and Erickson in the line of fire too badly, because that's not their responsibility to answer those questions. So that will be a discussion in June, at the June meeting. And again, I encourage you to watch the board meeting for the month of May, because I'm sure there will be about 100 more questions after you watch that meeting with the additional information that's going to be coming out. And you should be watching them anyway, because you can't really complain if you don't know what's happening in the other rooms. And if you haven't seen the April meeting yet, I almost cried on camera, so you can watch that. So that's pretty fun. That was cool. But deep breaths work. I'm going to pull up the proposed College Senate schedule for next year. And I'm going to ask to vote on it, and that is because in the past, we've put this out there, and then everybody complained about it the following year. So when someone, because someone will, complains about it in the fall, I can say, you know what, you voted for it. And that's going to be my snappy comeback. Kathy.
I have a question about process. This might be a bylaw change suggestion. I think we discussed this at the end of last year, but I feel like it's getting more and more complicated to get to a quorum in these meetings live. And with the resurgence of COVID cases in the area, I was a little leery of coming and being in the room, honestly, because I have family members that I can't be around if I'm exposed. What would we need to do to make changes to our voting structure to allow us to return to virtual?
Well, That would be a bylaw change. During COVID and during the pandemic, I'm going to mess up the name of it, but Robert's rules were lifted for voting procedures so that business could be carried on during the pandemic while New York State was in a state of emergency. So since we are no longer in a state of emergency for large meetings like this, and also the Board of Trustees, they are all meeting in person with voting only for people in person. To change our voting structure would require a bylaw change. Bylaw changes require 2 meetings and a positive vote. So a bylaw change would have to come through to our governance committee. If we wanted it seen at the June meeting, it'd have to be done like next week. Or it could be something that could be worked on over the summer and we get a first glance at it in September. Depends on how quick we want things done. But that would definitely have to be in our bylaws. So we put College Senate Executive in its own column because as I've said previously, any sort of business that's going to be discussed or presented at the College Senate needs to be in the hands of the Senate Executive Committee prior to the meeting. So that's why those dates are there. Then we have the College Senate dates and then Faculty Caucus of the Senate. We have some asterisks there, and it's mostly for April, due to the April break, where things are shifting and not the normal second week of the month due to, I think the break is going to be the second week of the month. And this lines up with the calendar that the Board of Trustees passed last week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. Does anyone see any issues? All right, can I have a motion to approve the College Senate dates for 2022-2023? Allison. Second, Jason. Any questions or comments? Any objections? All right, we're going to pass this one by consent. Oh, you can vote. Nope, now you're voting. Yes. Now you're voting. Erica likes to hit the enter button. Oh, jeez.
I just have a quick question. Is this posted on the Senate site? And where would we find the recently approved academic calendar?
For the recently approved academic calendar, you have to go to the Board of Trustees and find it in their
meeting documents?
meeting packet for their April meeting, and then it's on the consent agenda, and click it. It'll take you right there. Or you can email Brian Milville. It passes by 100%. For the good of the order, Amy.
Not quite sure it's for the good. I'm going to take that Dean of Students hat off and put the very, very heavy, long, I didn't think I'd be wearing it for this long, 2.5 years later, COVID hat on. Just a friendly reminder to everyone that there is free COVID tests in our security offices at all of our campuses. Please, please, please feel free to stop by and get them. I would much rather you stop by now and get it and take it home with you than one day wake up with a sore throat and decide you're going to come to campus and come get a test. Please stay home. If you do test positive, please call campus safety anytime. Don't hesitate, even if it's on a weekend or evening, and one of our contact tracers will reach out to you. And please don't do contact tracing on your own. We don't want to get people concerned, nervous for no reason, and I don't want people testing too early too, because that happens a lot of the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Bill?
I have a question about that, Amy, please. Why call? Why not email? I literally got told, I emailed to security and they told me to call. I had no voice. Hard to talk, and then your wife calls for you. It's pretty embarrassing.
I get you. So why we use the call-in method is because dispatch is staffed 24/7. So this way I have someone who's there, we can log the complaint or log the concern, and then I have a contact tracer reach out. So it's all recorded, so we don't miss you when you do call in with your froggy voice. There you go.
Awesome. And with the testing, if you do test too early, you'll be negative, and then you'll feel like garbage later in the day, and you could test positive like the next day. That was January for me. So, anywho, Dr. Sagai texts me and wants me to let you know that the Provost's office will be sending out the academic calendar. We're going to circle back to the College Senate Secretary.
So call for nominations if anyone's interested. We can get that vote in 4 minutes.
Yes?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate myself for the secretary position.
Okay, you got to tell us your name and your department.
Jessica Happy, and I.
Okay, great. All right, Jessica Happy. Jason? Got to talk in the mic.
I guess I'll throw my hat in for this.
Anyone else?
So we've received a nomination, self-nomination for Mary Ortel. I don't see anything in the bylaws that says she has to be here, but,
Okay.
we'd like to include her nomination as well.
All right, Mary Ortel. So, normally, we have a candidate statement. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to be on my team. Jessica, you nominated first. We'll let you go first.
Sure. I am a former student. I've been working I'm a tutor at the Writing Center South. So I've been here with the college for several years now. Just kind of started to get interested in more of the behind the scenes stuff like the Senate. So I figured something like the secretary could be something to just kind of get to be more involved in everything.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Jason?
I guess my rationale is that I'm already on the Senate exec, so I'm already attending that. I attend all the Senate meetings, and so I'm already involved in what's going on here. And so it would just, add a few more details to what I would normally be doing without much additional effort. I say that in parentheses, or in quotes, rather. But, I'm certainly, I don't want to stand in the way of anybody else who's really interested, so, but I thought if nobody else was going to do it, I could certainly pick it up.
Great. Thank you, Jason. I text Mary to see if maybe I could call her and put the phone up to the microphone. Mary couldn't make it today because she's not feeling well, and we appreciate her staying home when you're not feeling well. So thank you, Mary. Mary is English at North. She's a freshman senator. She did Middle States. Oh, she has no voice, but she wants to get more involved in the College Senate. She has a good attention to detail and would like to support communications from the Senate. Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Send it out? All right, Erica's going to send it out. That is the tightest race I have ever seen for the College Senate. Congratulations to Mary Artel. You are the new College Senate Secretary. And Jessica, now that we know you want to get more involved, you're on the list. So even though, and say, well, Jason's we already call him for everything. So now you're on the list, you're in. So with that, it's 4 o'clock. I just want to tell everybody thank you, thank you, thank you. You all do amazing work. This is an incredibly stressful time. We're trying to register students. We're trying to get our students to finish the semester. I'm currently trying to call one kid I haven't seen in 2 weeks to get him in to finish this semester. And it's just, then sunshine finally came out. So yay, but you're all wonderful. You are appreciated. And you all kick butt. Way to go, team. Thank you, College Senators. And we'll see you in June.
I did not think of that. You're right.